there are some unbelievers that, now, there are some unbelievers,
Yes.
right, that know exactly what they are called here to do on earth, right?
How?
Some people will say, I'm called to be a musician, I'm called to do music, right? And they're passionate about it, and they're doing their the music thing, and it's working out for them, and they have a plan, like, okay, I'm going to get to the Grammys, I'm going to win Grammys.
But how are
the
they sure
Grammys.
that's their path?
But I think the difference between an unbeliever and a believer is our purpose is one way or the other tied to God's plan,
to kingdom,
yes, to winning souls, to bringing people to Christ.
Yes.
Right?
I think that's the differentiating factor.
That's the differentiating factor at the end of the day. So it really doesn't make your journey easier knowing, okay, this is what God has called you to do, because you are still going to face all the trials, the struggles,
especially
the
if you're in Nigeria. You're gonna still face no running away.
Nigeria must take shade any day.
Yes.
You will still face all the disappointments that comes with.
But the difference is you have comfort.
Yes.
You know who sent you.
Exactly.
And you can always go back.
Yes.
You can always go back to ask for resources. To ask for mercy, to ask for comfort, to ask for, strength. I think that's just the difference. That's basically different. So it might be the same path, the same hurdles, the same bodies, but you know who sent you, and you know that there is someone looking over you to make sure that you don't. At least God will not give you what's bigger than you. God will kill you at the end of the day. So yeah, I think you're right.
And
that's
you can
the difference.
always count it all joy.
Yay, faith!
Hey girlies, welcome back to the Christian Girl Therapy Podcast. I'm so excited because we have a special guest with us today. Woo! And the thing is that she's not just a special guest, she's actually the first ever guest on the Christian Girl Therapy Podcast. Oh my God. And she's going to be joining us on a wonderful conversation that we're going to be having surrounding the Christian girl and her purpose. How to discover your purpose as a Christian girl. A lot of women, a lot of girls have made tremendous mistakes, wasted a lot of time just because they couldn't recognize their purpose. There is a level of understanding that you get when you know exactly what you are meant to be doing, when you know the exact path you are meant to be on. But the thing is, there is no time limit, there is no age limit to discovering your purpose. All you need is a certain level of confidence, a certain level of boldness to be able to take a 360-degree turn and start working on the right path. But before we get into all we have on this episode, let's introduce our guest. Woo! I'm excited. Hi, Chisom.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Faith.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on this episode.
Same here.
I know that we talked about how we're going to introduce you to the show. Well, I wanted to introduce you, but I know you will not like that because I'm going to sing your praises.
Yes, I know.
She's sitting down there. She's looking so humble. But this woman, small madam. Chisom, introduce yourself to the show.
If I actually want to introduce myself, I'll say I'm a child of God, full stop.
She has started. Chisom, please introduce yourself to the show. Tell us who you are.
So, my name is Chisom. First and foremost, a child of God, a daughter of God. But on the earth here, what I do is I'm a software engineer. And by God's grace, I'm also a couple of other things. I write code. As much as I like writing code, I also want to teach. So I've gotten into writing multiple engineering books, aside engineering books. I also love speaking in front of the camera. I love that media facing role, that side of my life. So I have a YouTube channel where I teach girls like me that want to come into technology. I also create content on Instagram, and I'm a public speaker. So basically, I like what I do, but I also like to teach people and just maximize all the gifts and talents God has given me.
Yeah, nice. She forgot to add that she was just named by Lilac as one of the 50 most influencing women in the tech industry.
My bad.
You see why I call her small madam. You're doing very well.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you on this episode. Why? Because I feel that you just fit right into the episode. We're
Thank
talking
you.
about the Christian girl, how to discover your purpose as a Christian girl. Let's just start from, like, take us on your journey. How did you discover your purpose? Is this something you recognized from the beginning?
Yeah.
Or was it something that you grew into?
Yeah, so I think for me, growing up, I didn't know what the meaning of purpose was per se.
Yeah.
Because I was still small, but I feel like I still have a strong feeling that God used my parents as a way to, navigate my life to a certain, path, right? So how do I put it? My parents were not the people that would say, okay, you have to do medicine, you have to do engineering. They gave us like a level playground.
Yeah.
They gave us musical instruments to learn. They
Interesting.
got us laptops.
Oh.
They also enrolled us into choirs. So they made sure that all our, like, we could explore different parts of life. But I think personally where I gravitated to mostly was the computer. And growing up now, I understand how privileged I was to even have like access to that computer at a very young age. So I think God used that to start directing me. So for like getting computers and all of that.
Yeah.
But I noticed that from using my computer at home, I would go to school. I would see myself teaching my friends how to use computers, how to do certain things. Then from there, I was now like representing my school in competitions. So like the whole IT thing was literally just, the path was just, God was just building that path for me. I'm moving over to school. It was a no-brainer that I would do computer science. So I even got into school. I started doing the same thing, that teaching aspect. Then after school, God gave me like 2 big jobs to start like one of the biggest IT companies. So I think that's how I would explain how I started. It wasn't something I forced.
Yeah.
Opportunities were just there, and they were similar opportunities. So I just played into it, and God just basically took the lead with the people and the kind of environment that he placed me in.
Yeah, so you talked about 2 things, which first one about the leading of God's leading.
Yes.
Would you say that prayer and your fellowship with God plays a big role in finding your purpose? That's the first one. Then secondly, you mentioned having your parents, how they got you guitar, computer, and stuff like that. Well, okay, now there's one of this girl out there and that doesn't have this kind of privilege, right? And the opportunities that you have. How can that girl still like find her path, find her purpose, with limited resources, and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'll start with the first question. Prayer and fellowshipping with God actually aligns you a lot. And there was this point in my life where everything was happening so fast. Like everything was happening so fast. And I actually had to calm down to say, God, where exactly am I going to? I was so overwhelmed. The attention was coming. The opportunities were coming. People were recommending me for leadership roles on campus. And I'm like, God, I see what you're doing here, but I really need to know where all this is going. And for me, it was just prayer. When I listen to people talk about prayer, it sounds very fun. But at some point in my life, it wasn't like that. It was actually very boring.
Yeah.
But when I turned prayer into like having a conversation with God, and God is not like someone that you can sit with and actually talk to and get replies. I was thinking I have to reconfigure something, to hear. But gradually, in the place of prayer, God doesn't really show you a map, but he just gives you like some clarity. He just drops some hints, because obviously God will show you everything.
Definitely.
Right? He will show you like the next steps. So in that place of prayer, God will say, okay, do this, don't do this, try to work on this. But I just had a strong sense of peace that I was meant to play in the technology industry. And for your second question about how people can still thrive even if they don't have those kind of parents, maybe they're financially okay. I believe that before God even creates you and sends you to this world, he has given you a whole package. It's like an employer sending you for like an offsite work to meet like a client. They book your flights, they handle your feeding, they just make sure that everything, all the resources are there for you to carry out that task. And for God to send you even to that family, he didn't make a mistake. God is saying that you would own industries, but your family is like, maybe your dad didn't even go to school or your mom didn't even go to school. So everything is still in God's plan. And you shouldn't feel bad if you're listening like, oh, my parents are not so well to do and I don't really know how I can fund this dream that God has given me. It might not even come from your parents. It might come from the fact that you're knowledgeable, people can help you, you can even get sponsors. So to always understand that anything that's purpose driven is also God funded. God can fund every single thing that he asks you to do. So let go of the environment that you're in, or maybe the parents that you have, or the friends that are around you that are not able so well to do. But
anything
just know
in your
that
mind, I feel like
it's limiting.
An obstacle for you.
It's basically nothing.
And the reason why I'm asking this question, because when a lot of girls look at people, I won't say a lot of girls. Let me start from my own self, because growing up, seeing all these people that have accomplished a lot, you just feel like
left out.
Not really left out. You feel like, how can you ever get to this position? You feel that the position is so far. They have really achieved a lot. You know, okay, I don't know why my mind is going to Funke Akindele now. I don't know.
I mean,
but looking at, okay, let's look at someone like Funke Akindele in the entertainment industry, because I believe the Christian girl can fit into any industry.
Yes,
There's no industry that is limited for her to be in. So let's look at the entertainment industry, for instance. Looking at someone like a Funke Akindele that has done so well for herself. You know, you that is just like starting life, and you just aim to be like, okay, you know that, okay, God is calling you into the entertainment industry, but you don't even know where to start from. I mean, you are just still struggling through school, you know, and they say you have to do this, you have to do that, and you are just thinking that, where will these resources come from? Where will I, even the connections, like where will I meet people that will help me on my path and all that? And it can be like a limiting mindset, like a stumbling block in your mind, right? Because I believe that everything starts and ends in your mind.
In your head, right?
Literally. So if you can overcome that stumbling block in your mind, head, you can overcome like any other thing that you meet out there. So talking about passion, right? Because you mentioned that you just knew that, okay, you were meant to be in the tech industry and everything. Do you think that it's because we're passionate about it when you talk about passion and purpose?
Yes, but passion and purpose is quite a funny mix, because some people do not like talking about passion, because they're like, the richest people in the world, most of them are not even passionate about what they do. They just know how to, you know, make money. But I feel like God embedded that desire in me. Because, I mean, I had an older sister that most likely had the same access that I did. But she was in the medical line. She loved computers, but she wouldn't stay on those computers as long as I would. So I feel like God gave me those desires, right? I even remember in primary school when we go for computer classes, and people would leave, I'll still stay back to just, and people would look at me like, class is over now, like what is he doing there? But that passion, that's what differentiated me basically. So I think God gave me those desires. He gave me the will to do what I was doing. And when God gives you a purpose, it's like, you just know you're meant to be doing something. Have you ever felt that way? You wake up in the morning and you know that this is what you're really meant to be doing, and those desires, it's just a fire that keeps burning. So that's how I see it.
It never really goes, that's the truth.
It doesn't. Desires.
And that's how you really know that, okay, this is where God is calling you to. You know, that's how those are the signs that can interpret.
It keeps hitting.
Yes, because it doesn't go, it's just there. You know, will you say that every single girl has a purpose, or is reserved for some? Because, you know, we just talked about how, you know, girls can be looking at some people people already made it already. Because I used to think like that. I used to feel like that growing up, that this thing, man, it can't work out. It's only for some people. Some people are just like lucky, or they have this certain kind of grace that you know, the spotlight is just for them. You know, will you say? And again, when talking about purpose, we always feel like purpose has to be shiny, right?
Yes.
Purpose has to be something that is glamorous. Like if you're not maybe on screen, you're not recognized, you know, and everything, it feels as if, okay, what you are doing is not worthy to be called like, okay, this is your purpose, right? So will you say every single girl has a purpose, or you just reserved for some select few?
I believe everybody has a purpose here on earth. How I like to look at it is, when God was creating me in heaven with a host of angels around, and there needed to be a spot to fill. There needed to be a gap to fill in the earth. And he sent me to this earth in the year I was born, knowing that Chisom at some point is going to fill this gap. She's going to play in this space. So I believe as long as you're on earth, you have a purpose inside you. Now, that purpose might not be as glamorous as you said. It might not be media facing. You might not be being invited to the White House. You might not be in the United Nations. You know, those big things. But it's also, I won't say it's disappointing, but you just have to believe that some people's purpose is to walk behind the scenes. We believe that there are some people in very rural areas of this world that are preaching the gospel and nobody knows about them.
Definitely.
They are fulfilling their purpose.
Yeah.
Because if the world ends today, they can go to God and say, yes, this is what you sent me to do. So they don't really care about like the cameras or the microphones, but they are fulfilling purpose. So you just need to understand that your purpose might not be glamorous, and that's fine.
Definitely.
It might be fulfilling purpose, but you don't even know it's because nobody knows you, or maybe you don't have a very huge brand, right?
Yeah.
So everybody has a purpose, and you just have to sit with God to understand what it means. And it's in that process God teaches you about contentment.
Definitely.
Being content with what you have. If God is saying that you will be a Sunday school teacher from today to the day he comes, you just have to pray to be content.
Yes.
So that when you're seeing, the bigger pastors, female pastors, they're flying private jets, they're getting into
very nice.
You just know that exactly. You just have
nice
this peace that is not for you, and it's okay, because at the end of the day, where the Bible says, "What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?" At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because when God comes, then everything is over.
And again, when talking about purpose, is purpose for a Christian, because we're talking about how to discover your purpose as a Christian girl, right? And when we talk about purpose, especially in the church setting, girls usually feel, people now usually feel that it has to do with the fivefold ministry.
Yes.
Evangelist, pastor, and stuff
Apostle,
like that.
Prophet.
You're a tech girl, right? You're in the tech industry. How does your purpose align with kingdom now?
Yeah, so I think that was something that confused me when I was getting into a career. And I always had an impression that I would preach. I don't know, for some weird reasons, I had this time where I was like in prayer with God, and I saw myself on the stage with a mic, and I was wearing like a white gown. And I was like, I don't know if I was healing like a crowd or I was just preaching. So each time I pray, God keeps flashing that. When like career opportunities came, I'm like, I don't understand.
Sure,
like you get so. I feel like as God explained it to me is the fact that I work for a tech company, and if you notice with what's happening with technology today, technology is literally running the whole world.
Yes.
So there's this thing you mentioned about having Christian people in ministry, Christian people in industries, in the media industry, in the food industry, in the fashion industry. So God let me know that he's making me play in that space to make a difference.
Yes.
He's making me play in that space to learn skills, to meet people that can actually transform the way the world sees God per se. Because if you look at the media today, it's nothing to write home about. There are a lot of narratives. So why are Christians shying away from driving that narrative to what is actually good, what is actually God, right? So me being in like the career, as much as I'm not holding a mic on a pulpit, I'm playing my own part in that industry with the kind of products I'm influencing, with the kind of products I'm building. By God's grace, I will get into rooms where policies are being made for the technology industry or for innovation. So I, as a Christian person, can even influence most of those policies. And you might just say, okay, what if you're the only Christian there? At some point, numbers will double, and you notice that most of the policies that we're seeing today, Christians are at the forefront of all those things. So if you're listening and you're in any industry, you're in the food industry, you're in the fashion industry, God is putting you, role there to play.
There's
influence
a reason why you're there.
That space positively. Because we can preach. Pastors can preach all they want in the church, but the change comes from your office.
Yes, because purpose is even beyond just what you're doing. Purpose is identity, like your identity who you are.
Christ,
your person. Right? If you walk into a space right now, people will first of all see you. Right? They'll first of all hear you. Before they start knowing, okay, you do this, you do that.
Yes, or even are you Muslim or are you Christian?
Yes, exactly. So if you're in an industry and you are working and you're doing your work excellently well, you are drawing the light of God is shining.
Are you also giving glory to God?
Exactly.
Yes.
The light of God is shining through you, and people are seeing you and they say, okay, this person is different, is unique. I always say that no matter where you are and what you are doing, as a Christian, you are always going to be unique.
Yes, lights.
no matter
You're
what,
always
even
going to be
if
light.
you don't want to be unique, you are going to be unique
You will
because the
shine.
people of the world can know they know the
They know the
difference.
difference.
They know they know their kind.
Yes.
Sometimes us Christians that don't really know who
We are not, except someone else tells you.
we don't really know who
we don't
are.
understand
we don't
the light
know
that
the
we
substance
carry.
that we carry.
Exactly.
But people of the world, they can see that. When I'm saying people of the world now, I'm sounding very
No, I say that it is people of the world. But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
I get what you mean.
So they can see that there's a difference in this person, the way you carry yourself,
The work ethic.
yeah, your work ethic, the way your values,
You do things excellently.
Yes,
You're
all
not
those things.
subpar. You're actually on top of your game.
Yes,
So
very true. Comparison again is one thing that can hinder people from actually going on the path that God has set for them.
yes.
Because you feel like, oh, what I'm doing is not as significant as what this person is doing right now. Because I'm also in the tech industry, right? But I'm not doing what you're doing. If I don't know exactly the path that God has called me to be in, I might feel like I need to be doing what Chisom is doing.
Yes.
Because I want to
we're in the same.
I want to be like Chisom.
Yeah.
I want to be on those stages with you. I want to it's like, really?
Oh Lord.
But because I know that's not the path for me, and that's not the path God has created for me. Because nowadays, social media, there's always one thing trending.
That pressure.
There's pressure. There's always something trending that if you're not content, like you said at the beginning, you will lose track.
And if you don't
very
have focus,
easy. Very, very
you
easy.
lose track. Yeah.
Lose track. So how does one deal with a lot of distractions? How do you stay grounded and stay focused on like the path that God has crafted out for you?
Yeah, so I think it's just like when you visit like a new country, for instance, and you're a tourist, and someone directs you to a place or a restaurant that you're looking for. You notice that you're head on because you already know where you're going to. So whether there's a carnival in front of you or there's some people, you still know that you're moving forward because someone has given you direction and you want to get to that destination. And so comparison is actually a tip of joy, and with comparison also comes envy. So it's like a full package that Satan will just carry and give you to distract you. So how I understand it is, if you're on two paths and you're driving a car, for instance, and you keep focusing on what your neighbor is driving on their own
you're
lane,
going to lose.
you have accidents.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't have accidents, you get to your destination slowly because you're not even looking at where you're going to.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is actually staying in that secret place to download the blueprint for your life. I said blueprint because God will not give you the full thing.
Definitely.
He will just show you a glimpse and leave you. But at least you've seen the end goal. So knowing that, that, okay, if I'm in the tech industry, it doesn't mean I must be a public speaker. I can just be writing my code and that's fine.
Yes.
Because that's what God said I'm going to do. So you also need to understand that people have different paths. Your journey is not another person's journey. And you always need to be wary about envy because it's very easy to come. And when envy comes in, you start to lose focus of what God is even doing in another person's life.
Yeah.
I remember when my pastor was talking about, when you're comparing yourself to someone else and you can't even appreciate what God is doing in that person's life. And God might even be showing you that person's life as
for a reason.
This is what I want you to do, but I want you to look at this person through this person's lens. But instead of looking and being grateful and just seeing how you can learn, you're getting jealous. So understanding that you have your own unique path, there will be struggles, there will be burdens. It might even look very dark, but just knowing that you need to stay in that secret place to actually ask God. Because sometimes when I wake up every day, I'm like, God, what exactly do you want me to do today? I know where you want to take me to, but what do you want me to do today? So that I have this sense of direction. And you see yourself open social media, this person is announcing, oh, I just got this in the United Nations. I just got invited to this. And you're like, no.
Sometimes you even want to be content or right. And all of a sudden you open social media and you just see one big announcement.
You're seeing different things.
And you just look like, oh God, am I really this life? What am I really doing?
So is that direction? It needs to be embedded. It's something that I feel like a lot of Christians don't pray as much as we should. We don't seek God as much as we should. We do it like, oh, morning devotion, I'm going to work. But actually staying with God, when God embeds that blueprint, nothing will take you out of that path because you're focused. So focus is actually a huge thing. So my advice is stay in the secret place longer. like have a very good conversation with God and let him keep reminding you that this is where he wants you to be, and just giving you that spirit of contentment to tackle envy or jealousy or even comparison when it comes.
Do you think girls face more societal pressure than guys in terms of the standards that are placed on them? In terms of like, oh, okay, as a girl, you can achieve, but don't achieve so much. You can succeed, but don't succeed so much, because it will affect your family, relationships.
Yes.
You know.
I think it's a girl thing, because I've never seen anybody telling a guy you can achieve, but don't achieve so much. Like, I have never heard that in my life.
You know, there's this thing that...
I've never heard that
There's
in my
this
life.
thing where I don't think anyone says this in our time now, but I know in my mother's time, as a lady, you can't buy a car for yourself.
Because they'll say,
no man will marry you.
How about women that are buying houses and land
now?
So
no, but even at that, I still feel that ladies still in their mind still feel that limitation. They still have that limitation.
It's a mindset thing.
It's a mindset. So as a lady at 25 now, not all ladies, right? Some ladies at 25 now might be looking at her life and saying, okay, I have these good opportunities, but I don't want to look as if, I have it all together. So I don't drive my suitors away.
Yes.
And they don't become scared, right? Of saying, okay, she's too expensive now. She's too big at this point. Can I really take care of her? Stuff like that. Do you think that societal pressure is on?
Yeah, it's there. And I think it's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing, because I'm very active on Twitter. I see what people my age are doing in the United States, or even in the UK. I think a few months ago, a 25-year-old girl was saying that, she got a Tesla 2025.
Are you serious?
Like 2025, this is April 2025.
Like this year.
And she paid cash for it.
Wow.
So you can't tell that kind of person, you have to calm down, if not, nobody will marry. It's a cultural thing.
It is.
So I feel like you should just get to the highest limit God wants you to be, and not more. Because even that more, God might not even want you to... God might feel like you don't even need it, but just get to the highest limit. And as for suitors, God will give you someone that would match you perfectly. It's not all the guys that are looking for... I don't want to use the word, but some guys actually want women that are
driven,
and have their things going on for them. But other guys, I can't say much, but get to the highest point God wants you to be, and you should never be scared that nobody will know, because God will send you the person that's fit and perfect for you. So it's a Christian.
So there's no height as a lady that you cannot attain.
Yes,
like women are becoming presidents, women are becoming CEOs, because I just recently learned that the founder of Canva is a lady.
Yes.
I was blown
CEO
away.
and founder, actually.
I was blown away. I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So there's no height. Like if whether you're in the fashion industry, entertainment,
just go as far as possible.
As far as possible. Like, and it's even a good thing, because you are trying to create a balance.
Encourage, yes.
Right? And do away with that narrative of women depending on men, because it comes from this kind of narrative that a lady is supposed to have a certain kind of success or a certain kind of achievement. Now you're bringing her to the level where she now always has to depend on a man, right, for some certain things.
Yes.
So push the narrative of go, succeed, work hard, get your money
point.
right.
Yes.
And it doesn't stop you from having like a very good marriage, because there are successful women that have good marriages, good relationships. Yeah. Like it doesn't stop anything. I think again, it's the person you get married to, it's the partner that you end up with that matters. Yes. So even if you are not, sometimes a lady cannot be earning much or doing much with her life, gets married and has great opportunities.
Yeah, it just flips.
Yes. So if you're not even with the right person from the beginning, right, and the marriage is working because the man is earning more than you, by the time you begin earning more than the guy, his true colors begin to come out.
Yeah. So
so don't limit yourself to say, I want to get married, I don't want to earn more, because you can. So that means in future you're not praying that you will do well in life, because if you don't achieve to the point of greatness that you want to achieve to, and you get married and you now find out later that your husband is somebody that is very jealous, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think it's everything still boils down to God, and God giving you that wisdom to navigate, those phases of your life. So yeah.
What would you say to a girl that is feeling lost and feeling disconnected? Because we were talking about purpose, but we know it can get really difficult.
Yes.
You can get to a point where you can't even recognize what God has called you to do anymore.
Yeah.
You can't even recognize yourself on that path.
Yes.
Right. Have you ever felt disconnected like on your journey?
Every day. I think it gets sensitive when you're drawing closer to God. I don't know if you know this analogy where you're praying and you're mirroring yourself. You like Jesus is in front of you and you're there and you're trying to shape. It's like a molding, pruning process. So God keeps showing you those inconsistencies. And when you wake up in the morning, you just know that there's some things you should stop doing. There's some things you should start doing more, and there are some skills that you should learn or people that you should meet for mentorship or stuff like that. So it's something that if you don't have it, you should be scared. If you wake up every day with that confidence that you're on top of your game. If you don't have
that period of uncertainty, then you should be scared.
Exactly, because those periods of uncertainty is calling you into a deeper fellowship with God, because it shows that you might be disaligning yourself. So if you don't have that signal at all, then it means that you're glorifying your strengths above, seeking God for direction. So it happens to the best of us, honestly. You can see someone put together, speaking on stage, getting a lot of money, but deep down that person is still struggling a bit. So it just still boils down to your fellowship with God and seeking God every day, every single day. Don't start your day knowing that everything is by your strength. You have something, you have everything under control, you have the wisdom to handle every situation. Just understanding that God is still the guide. He will always say he's the guide in the Bible. He knows the best path for our life. So always seeking God. And it's very normal to have those feelings. If you're having that feeling, know that you're on the right path. Know that you've let yourself go for God to hold you, and you're not feeling
how do you get yourself out of that feeling?
Prayer helps me. I trash out a lot of things in prayer, and I'm very sincere with prayer when I'm talking to God. I don't hide things, because at the end of the day, God will still know. So I don't deceive myself in prayer. I don't hide things. I try to be as very sincere as possible. God, this is what I'm doing. Everybody likes it. I'm getting the applause, but is this actually what you want me to do?
You have to be honest with yourself.
I'm very honest. I'm very honest with God. If I have an opportunity for a big project and everybody's like, yeah, go ahead, it's helping for your career, I need to step back and actually ask God, this is good, but not everything good is God. Not everything good is from God. So
it's really important, because in the generation that we are in, we feel that the more applause you get, the more you're on the right path. The more applause, more recognition.
That's the worst mistake.
Means that you're actually on the right path, or you're doing something good. But there's a difference between something just getting the attention of people and trending,
and actually working in purpose,
and actually having impact. So that was the part I was going to, because you can be recognized and it might not even be for something good.
Exactly.
And a lot of sometimes people tune in to want to like maybe watch something you put out there, read something you wrote, buy from you, not necessarily because they want to, but maybe because they see that this is a trending conversation and they want to be part of the conversation, right? Even if it's passively. Some people want to be actively part of the conversation, so they want to have opinions about it. And some people just want to be passively part of conversation. So say, let me see what this is about, right? And you eventually get what you want. People are buying from you. People are watching. People are reading. But are you creating impact? Because impact should last more than a certain period of time.
Legacy and everything.
You should leave something behind that will transcend generations. And I think we're missing that a lot in our generation, where we just
selfish ambition.
We just want it at this point. Now. Let it just come at this point. Because the reason why you can start feeling overwhelmed, feeling lost, feeling disconnected, feeling stressed is probably you're not seeing the success that you want at that very minute. right? Because you feel like it's not working.
Yeah.
You feel like putting a lot of effort. You're putting a lot of sacrifice, and you're not seeing the result that you need or the result that you want.
Yeah.
And you feel it's not working because you're looking at the other girl and you see how she has
everything
10,000
is put
followers
together
already.
I wonder who made those I don't know who put that,
those metrics.
Yeah, like, okay, if you don't have followers, you're not doing, but it's fine, we're learning.
Because I remember there was a book I read when I was in secondary school. Yeah. Until now, I can still remember how I felt when reading that book, what day it was, what I was doing. I'm telling you, because it left something. Right. It was a very good book. And it was not even a Christian book. It was a literature book, right? Hours of Rain. I can't remember the author's name at this point. But I remember that book because the storyline was written so well, right? It had a lot of emotions,
yes,
right, that resonated with me while reading the book. I could relate to it, and it stuck to me. And even till now, I will still recommend that book. And that book was already old by the time I read it in secondary school. And I'm saying even till now, I'll recommend that book to someone else to read. And that is how it's supposed to be. Sometimes you put out your work at the beginning, right? And this is for like somebody who is feeling like they are not doing much, or they're not seeing the result that they need, and you feel like, okay, probably I'm not on the right path and I should change the path that I'm on,
because that instant
gratification is not there. That instant result is not there, right? So you can be putting in the work and not seeing the result now. That doesn't mean that in years to come,
even when you die,
you're not going to see the results, right?
Yeah, you definitely see that impact. It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah. Our final question. But getting to the end of this episode, one important question is, how does someone discover their purpose? For a Christian girl, I know we have talked about purpose all through, but let's just answer that question. How do you discover your purpose as a Christian girl?
So I believe discovering purpose is a journey. It's a journey of life. Like, it's something that you work with God on, something that you keep going at, like a curriculum. I don't think that you can even discover your purpose today. It's okay, this is my purpose, this is why I'm on air, because you will forget God. You don't want to pray to him again because you already know how it's gonna end, right? Understanding that waking up every day is an opportunity to still dig into that purpose, to still say, okay, what's the next chapter of my life? How am I going to go about it? What am I going to do at this season? And it's a gradual process. Even someone like Adeboye can even come, Pastor Adeboye, can come and say that he's still on that journey. And he's old, he's elderly, but people will say, you've built a huge church, there are so many branches, outreaches everywhere, but he'll still tell you that he's still on that journey to find what God wants him to do more. Because as long as you're on earth, God always wants you to do something. God always has a different assignment, like still on the same track, but different sides of that assignment. So I think you're just putting yourself in the right environment, having a good mindset. You don't want to be around friends that are always limiting. You also don't want to be around friends that are not as close to Jesus, as close to your God as possible. Because when you're in the church, you have this push to, I want to do more. I want to follow God's purpose of my life. But when you leave church and you're now in a friendship circle that doesn't even care, they're like, those church things, I beg. You lose it and you come back to church. So it's like you're deceiving yourself. So putting yourself in the right circle, having a good church community. And people think of church like, I'm only learning about God, but church teaches you a lot more. Church teaches you how to be a better person, teaches you how to build a good business, how to build a good career, how to build a good love life. So don't shy away from your church family. Have a good and consistent friendship circle, friends that actually mirror, are actually accountable for you, right? That don't just abandon you. Then good mindset. And how do you build a good mindset? Listening to things that edify you. Right? There are a lot of things on social media now. I've watched so many stupid skits. I'm not even sorry to say they are stupid. Like, I'll just be on Instagram and I'll just watch a skit. I'm like, how did you people come up with this? Like, how is this? How are people even laughing at this thing? So if you see yourself watching those kind of things for months, your mind will be in a different realm. So always edifying your spirit, making sure you're listening to sermons. And people say, sermons is just church things, but no, there are a lot of pastors that have different callings in different areas. So there's this pastor that will be teaching you about life. There's another pastor that will be teaching you about business, but in God.
Why is it only only church now?
Yeah.
Because, we're saying that the girl should fit into every
Everywhere.
industry.
Yes.
So is it only church, sermons, godly friends?
No.
The God factor, all your friends should be godly, no matter the circle that they are in. But is it only church? What of seminars, conferences?
Yeah, those things are there, and it's actually the wisdom of God and what you pray for God to help you to not despise, those things. I know a lot of Christians that despise workshops. They're like, I don't want those ones also. They despise workshops, they despise seminars. But I also know a lot of Christians that have learned key business ideas from non-believers.
Yeah.
Right? They learn things from non-believers.
Yeah.
So I was watching this video on Instagram. I've forgotten I think his name is Augustine. And he was saying how his mentor wasn't even Christian, he was Muslim. But he taught him the key secrets to his business, and the guy is a multi-millionaire now.
Yeah.
So don't say this person is not a born again Christian. I'm not going to. You have to get into it.
Exactly, because
you have to get into it.
This thing you talked about is one of the things that it is also limiting a lot of Christians.
Yes, it is.
Right? Because we don't want to go out there. We don't want to just want to be in your circle, like, okay, go to church on Sunday, go to listen to your pastor.
It's limiting.
Don't listen to any other person, because in fulfilling your purpose, you need people around you. You need skills.
Yes.
You need knowledge, right? You need a lot of wisdom about what you are into. Like, you're into tech now,
yes.
So there's a lot of things that you need to know, right? And it's not just your pastor cannot be teaching you
exactly.
If you're entertainment, your pastor will not teach you how to act or write scripts or do something. So you need to be able to come out and enter those places that you feel
yourself,
like there's negative light in those places.
Exactly.
Enter those places and carry your God light into that place. Don't be afraid to go into those sectors. Don't be afraid to meet people that I can't remember the scripture but I know there are many instances in the Bible that God wanted to do something, and he will say, go and meet this person. That person necessarily is not even a believer.
Exactly. So many instances in the Bible.
I don't remember one at this moment.
I think Cornelius, when God sent, I don't want to, but there's so many instances in the Bible where God made believers match with people that are not even, in quotes, worthy enough.
Because you just have the mindset that, okay, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to create something, and I need this thing from this person. You're not going there to start associating with the person, right? Go and learn what you need to learn. And funny enough, by doing that, you can actually even try and draw the person to Christ.
There's something one of our female pastors said. She would say something like contact without contamination.
Yes.
So you can get that contact, get the knowledge, get those witty ideas, those key insights, and you still not get contaminated. And if God pushes you a step further, you can now start like preaching the faith message. But that one is a different story altogether. But understanding that believers shouldn't be in that box of I don't want to go to the world. Those are bad people. They're going to influence me. No.
And generally, I think when it comes to discovering your purpose, is really not far from what you're saying. When we talk about purpose, people usually feel like, it's one deep
that you have to stay like a monk.
Yes.
So yeah, God.
No, because we talked a lot about prayer and fellowship with God and all that, and you think, okay, you have to now spend 10 hours in fellowship and God will now come down in the clothes of an angel and now say, Chisom, you are going to be in the tech industry.
Exactly.
And it's really not
a
like
journey.
Yes, it's
things
around you, like you said, passion, things you're passionate about, and things that are desires to you, and those desires don't leave you. The true thing about God's purpose is that it always feels bigger than you. It will always seem bigger than you, because God will not give you anything small, right? He will start you bit by bit, but where it's taking you to will
you
not
just
be
feel
small. Yes,
you just have,
and it will, even if you don't do it now, right? And you say, okay, this is what God wants me to do, but you want to go the Jonah route, right? And I don't want to do it. The truth is that no matter how far you run,
God is still
that
merciful.
Desire will still be in your heart.
Yes.
Until the day you come back to say, you know what, I want to align with God. So it's the things I would say, one, they are the things you are passionate about.
Those
Two,
desires.
they are the things around you. Three, they are your desires. right? 4, and are the things that you feel scary about because it's God's purpose.
Like when you just think about it, you're like, no.
Yes,
Like
yes.
even sometimes you even avoid it in prayer. I don't know if you've had that situation
you
where
avoid it in prayer.
it's just God is like, what about that thing that I asked you to do? And you're like,
no,
we're not talking about that now. So yeah, always those big dreams that,
because it takes a level of
evident.
Confidence and boldness to go after what God has called you to do.
It does, but like I said, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
So step by
so
step.
Don't pressure yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Just allow God to lead you, allow God to carry you, and stuff like that. Before we go, answer this question. Does finding and recognizing your purpose on time make your journey in life easier?
No. I think it's the same thing. But that sense of direction is there. It doesn't mean there won't be hurdles. There'll be a lot of challenges, a lot of burdens, a lot of crying. God, is this what you really said? I'm sorry.
True.
But there are a lot of hurdles. But just knowing that you know the end goal. There's nothing as satisfying as knowing the end goal. Right? If God has promised you something and your current situation is not looking at as though that thing will be achieved, but you just know that you're going to end up somewhere. And it's different for an unbeliever because they're just living life vibes on vibes. Today is a new day. I'm going to start my business. I'm going to scale my business.
No, but are unbelievers really living vibes on vibes? Because there are some unbelievers that, now there are some unbelievers right, that know exactly what they are called here to do on earth, right?
How?
Some people will say, I'm called to be a musician, I'm called to do music, right? And they're passionate about it, and they're doing their the music thing, and it's working out for them, and then they have a plan, like, okay, I'm going to get to the Grammys, I'm going to win Grammys.
But how are they sure that's their path?
But I think the difference between an unbeliever and a believer is our purpose is one way or the other tied to God's plan,
to kingdom,
yes, to winning souls, to bringing people to Christ.
Yes.
Right?
I think that's the differentiating factor.
That's the differentiating factor at the end of the day. So it really doesn't make your journey easier knowing, okay, this is what God has called you to do, because you are still going to face all the trials, the struggles,
especially
the
if you're in
obstacles.
You can still face down. Don't run it away.
Nigeria must take shade any day.
Yes.
You will still face all the disappointments that comes with.
But the difference is you have comfort.
Yes.
You know who sent you.
Exactly.
And you can always go back.
Yes.
You can always go back to ask for resources. To ask for mercy, to ask for comfort, to ask for, strength. I think that's just the difference. That's basically different. So it might be the same path, the same hurdles, the same burdens, but you know who sent you, and you know that there's someone looking over you to make sure that you don't. At least God will not give you what's bigger than you. God will kill you at the end of the day. So yeah, I think you're right.
And
that's
you
the
can
difference.
always count it all joy.
Yay, faith!
Of course, no.
I don't like that scripture.
Why?
I don't like it.
See, you will always count it all joy.
The scripture is nice, but it has a lot of
when you face trials and tribulations, count it all joy.
A lot of
because the testing of your faith
perseverance and all of that. But yeah, true.
You always count it all joy.
I count it all joy.
The journey to one's purpose is not easy. There's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of no's. But at the end of the day, on the other side, there's a lot of success. There's a lot of yeses. Yeah. There's a lot of impact. Right? Satisfaction.
Yeah.
That satisfaction, you are doing the will of God. You are in the right path. You're doing what God has called you to do. There's legacy that you are leaving.
There's a whole lot in the package.
Yes.
And it's worth it, honestly. It's worth it.
Well, what more can we say?
Nothing. I think you've said everything.
What more can we really say? So, right. Yeah. So as a Christian girl, there's really nothing stopping you from achieving.
Go above and beyond.
Yeah, your purpose in life. There's really nothing stopping you. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode. It was so lovely having Chisom Nwokwu with us in the house today on this episode. This episode has been a great one. A lot of things have been shared. I've learned a lot of things from this episode. You know what to do. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us. Follow Chisom on our handle. It will be displayed on the screen. And please do follow her. Like I said, she was not just named 50 most one of the 50 most influencing women in the tech industry. She's actually doing great work. She looks really humble, but she's
oh my God.
she's small but mighty. Right. And also follow me too on my own social media handles, and also follow the Christian Girl Therapy podcast. Very, very necessary. Until we meet again on our very next episode.
Bye, guys.
Continue healing, continue praying, and continue loving. Mwah. Bye.